Hey there, how there, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to yet another Cutter Top 10 video. And today we are looking at the top 10 NBA teams of all time. As you can see, wearing the jersey of one Kyle Lowry. I can turn around to do everything right. Sorry. Yeah, I can't do it right. Sorry about that. But yeah, wearing my Raptors shirt. I know Lowry doesn't play for the Raptors, but it's a Raptors shirt. What do you expect? So anyhow, we're going to be looking at the top 10 NBA teams of all time in honor of wearing the Raptors shirt. Now, there is a rule that when I do the top 10, there is no team that has not won a title. AKA, the 2016 Golden State Warriors would definitely be on that squad. But however, they didn't win the championship. They blew it to the Cavs and LeBron. So they're technically not on this list. So unfortunately, that is that. Although they should get a massive honorable mention. So anyhow, we're going to be going. And here we go. Number 10 on the list is the 1983 Philadelphia 76ers. Now, a lot of people make fun of the Sixers, for their rebuild and all that crap. But the 1983 Philadelphia 76ers were on a mission. The Sixers were a great team and all that, and needed to win a championship for their fans. In 1980, they suffered a Game 6 loss to the LA Lakers with a rookie, Magic Johnson, leading them to victory. And then Moses Malone, who the Sixers took from Houston in a massive trade, which actually worked out, decided to play well. You had Moses Malone, Julius Irving, and Mo Cheeks, one of the most underrated point guards of the 80s. Moses Malone has made a prediction he would go faux, 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 but the way he said it. But it was interpreted as, well, that. But it's 4-4-4, meaning he predicted that the Sixers would win the two Eastern Conference playoff matchups before the championship and would do it in a sweep. However, he was close. Moses Malone's rallying cry actually almost worked. They ended up losing one game. So they won 12 out of 13, which was pretty impressive. They had a great championship construction and all that. Number 9 on the list is the 2001 LA Lakers in the middle of their three-peat. The Lakers were known for three-peating. They did that. They tried to do that in the 80s, but they didn't. But the 2001 squad was huge and all that. Because, Shaq and Kobe were together and were getting along with each other. Unfortunately, in later years, they wouldn't. But nevertheless, Shaq and Kobe were there. Rick Fox, the Canadian, was there. Robert Ory, a lot of players. So the Lakers looked good, and they ran roughshod in the Western Conference, going 15-1, which was pretty impressive. Their only misstep of the postseason was in the NBA Finals in Game 1 when Allen Iverson led the Sixers to beat the Lakers in Game 1 in overtime and did the famous step over of Tyrone Lue. But the Lakers proved their dominance and won the next four. Kobe winning the title in Philadelphia, close to Lower Merion, Pennsylvania, where he grew up and played high school basketball. Of course, the Lakers kind of had the advantage because the Eastern Conference was a shit show, if you will. I mean, the Raptors almost went to the Eastern Finals. If they have beaten the Sixers in Game 7 of the second round, they would have given Milwaukee a run for their money and be the Eastern Conference champions. Who knows? Number 8 is the 2008 Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics were famous for all their championships and all that. They still have the most NBA titles with 18. The Lakers have 17. But anyway, the 2008 Celtics were going through with their version of the Big Three, meaning three great players on the team. The Celtics had Paul Pierce on the roster ever since they drafted him in 1998, and they had two other key pieces. They took Kevin Garnett in a massive trade with the Memphis Grizzlies and signed Ray Allen out of free agency. So they had those three guys, and led by bench players. The Celtics were pretty good in 2008. And the fact of the matter was that, the Celtics beat up on the Lakers, and then Kevin Garnett made that famous post game thing after winning Game 6. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Oh my God. Yeah, it was great to see the Celtics for the first time in 22 years win the title. The last time they won the title was 86. And then in the draft, they took Len Bias, who decided to celebrate with cocaine and unfortunately passed away. It felt like a curse of Len Bias. Number 7 is the 1989 Detroit Pistons. They were known as the Bad Boys. The Pistons would change the league's perception with their bruising physicality and relentless defense, basically defense first and all that. So the Pistons had Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, and Bill Laimbeer doing that thing alongside Rick Mahorn, and a massive trade with the Dallas Mavericks getting Mark Aguirre for Adrian Dantley, who wasn't that bad of a player, but yeah, Aguirre helped the Pistons with the last piece of the puzzle, leaving an indelible mark on the art of winning through grit and unity. So they looked pretty good in all of that with their defense. They they would win the 1990 championship to go back to back, but would be denied of a three-peat by one Michael Jordan. The Pistons would use this relentless defense thing 15 years later in 2004, winning the title against the LA Lakers. Number 6 is the 1972 LA Lakers. They're massively huge because of the fact that they had that 33 game winning streak. It's hard to believe that not even the Michael Jordan led Bulls or the LeBron led Miami Heat got to 33 wins. They had 33 straight wins. They had some great streaks, but yeah, the Lakers had a 33 game winning streak. That's amazing and all that. The Lakers had Jerry West, Will Chamberlain, Gil Goodrich, and Happy Hairston, among others. And the Lakers looked pretty good. They won 69 games out of 82 and steamrolled through the playoffs, giving the Lakers a title that they much deserved. In 1970, they faced the Knicks in 7 hard games, but lost Game 7 thanks to Willis Reed's performance. So anyway, the 1972 LA Lakers had that blend of winning and all that. And number 5 is the 1967 Sixers. The Sixers had a powerhouse and all that. Now the Sixers broke off from the Syracuse Nationals. Like the Syracuse Nationals were there, but then they moved to Philly to become the 76ers. A few years after the move, they ended up getting Will Chamberlain in a massive deal with the San Francisco Warriors. Well, Chamberlain played for the Philadelphia Warriors when he had that 100-point game. But the problem was that he wasn't happy in the West Coast, so San Francisco traded him to Philadelphia. So he was back with the Sixers. He even had a piece of the team as an owner. Nevertheless, the Sixers put up 68 wins. So Will Chamberlain was there. They even had Hal Greer, Chet Walker, and Billy the Kangaroo Kid Cunningham as supporting stars. And the most important part is, well, while they won the championship for the Sixers and the city of Philadelphia, they actually beat the Boston Celtics in the conference finals, meaning that the Celtics would miss the finals and miss the chance for a nine-peat. That's right, the 1950s and early 60s Boston Celtics won 8 straight titles. And they were relentless as a dynasty and all that. Of course, there was only like 9 or 10 teams in the NBA, whereas now it's 30. Number 4 on the list is the 1987 LA Lakers. They had a Showtime fast break offense so that rivals breathless. James Worthy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Byron Scott would be on the forward side, whereas Magic Johnson, even though he was 6'9", he was a point guard, and he orchestrated the fast break offense and all that. They had style, substance, and up-tempo brilliance. The LA Lakers were a very good team and all that. And they took care of the Celtics in the finals, who were trying to repeat as champions. And let's not forget about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's skyhook to win Game 4 of the finals, which was breathless. Weirdly as it sounds, the previous year's champions are number 3, and that is the 1986 Boston Celtics. The 1986 Celtics had one of the best home records around. Well, they had it, and they also had a roster brimming with 4 Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers: Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, and Bill Walton. That's right, Bill Walton was healthy and he was playing for the 86 Boston Celtics, which was pretty impressive. The Celtics were trying to get that title back from the Lakers after losing it in 1985 despite winning game 1 by a massive margin. The Celtics at home were destroying the crowds. They were 40-1 in the regular season. Portland, if I remember correctly, was the team that ruined the Celtics' chances of being home perfection in the regular season. Not even the 2016 Warriors or the 96 Bulls had that good of a mark. Well, I think the Bulls lost twice on home turf. Anyway, the passing, shooting, and defense worked, and the Celtics got revenge. Well, they didn't really get revenge. They got the title back from LA, but LA was not the finals team they wanted. It was Houston who shocked the Lakers in the conference finals. So the 86 Celtics did their job and everything. Let's not forget about Danny Ainge and Greg Kite, among others. Number 2 is the 2017 Golden State Warriors. Of course, they won 73 games in 2016, broke the record set by the number 1 team in history. And, they were coming back. Kevin Durant would leave Oklahoma City to play Golden State, basically creating the term title chasing, championship chasing, if you will. They had Stephen Curry, they had Klay Thompson, they had Draymond Green, they had some great players, including my favorite Golden State Warrior, Andre Iguodala. Though they didn't win as many games as they did the previous year, they only won 67. The playoffs, they were dominating. They only had 1 playoff loss. And just like the 2001 Lakers, they had that playoff loss in the finals against Cleveland. But they still won in 5 games. They had the 3-point barrage. That's basically when 3-pointers were a necessity, not a privilege. And number 1, well, you gotta be kidding me. Why wouldn't this not be number 1? But anyway, it is number 1. It's the 1996 Chicago Bulls. So the 96 Bulls were a juggernaut. In the 90s, winning 3 straight titles in 91, 92, and 93. But MJ decided to leave the Bulls to play minor league baseball, mostly because his dad, who was basically his inspiration, actually wanted his son to play baseball or try baseball out because MJ was a good baseball player as a youth. So MJ, went to play minor league baseball with the White Sox organization. He was decent, but not great and all that. MJ did play in the fall league to build himself up, but with the players' strike, with the owner strike of 1995, he just couldn't cross the picket line. Everyone wanted replacement players. So anyhow, the 96 Bulls did their job, winning 72 titles, which was the most in NBA history. Of course, it's the most in NBA history by a team that won the championship. But yeah, 72 regular season wins. You had MJ, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman, who was picked up from San Antonio in a massive trade. So the Bulls picked up Dennis Rodman, and they added the piece to the puzzle. They're rebounding. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that MJ came back to the Bulls in the 94-95 season. But then, he was back for a full season. Phil Jackson had the steady leadership of the triangle offense and all that. The Bulls were pretty good. In fact, the Bulls did have a Canadian by the name of Bill Wennington. Did you not know that? But yeah, they had Jud Buechler. Steve Kerr was on that team. Who else? Well, John Spider Sally. I would say BJ Armstrong, but I'm probably wrong. No, I am wrong. But the fact of the matter is that the Bulls were good. There was one low light to the 96 Bulls season, and that was March 18th, 1996, in Toronto at the Sky Dome against the Raptors, where the Raptors would play out of the Sky Dome for their home games until 1999 when the Air Canada Center was built. So anyway, that 109-108 win was the greatest moment in Raptors history until they won the championship in 2019. But the fact of the matter is that MJ could not beat the Raptors in Toronto, and the Raptors were a expansion team at that. But nevertheless, they did smoke through the playoffs. They did quite well. Seattle did take them to 6 games in the final, but MJ won that title in Game 6, which appropriate enough was on Father's Day, and the whole thing with his father. It was just perfect. It was just Peter at its best. And the 96 Bulls are always going to be the greatest team around, but they'll always carry the shame of losing to the expansion Toronto Raptors. And I'll let them know. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.